On this episode, we talk about email personalization, Facebook audiences, and Brian Chesky. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 26 of the AskEngine show. We finally have the entire crew back together, which is exciting. It's been, almost a week since we've all shot together. Very good. We've got 3 questions for you today. We're excited to jump into them, so we'll go ahead and get into the first.
Yeah, our first one's from Cora, and it is, what are some good personalization use cases? This person's looking for good examples of customer personalization and information about the results. So I'll speak on one that I used and I thought was really cool this past year. So at the end of 2017, Spotify did Spotify Wrapped.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah, it was their roll-up of all the music you listened to over the year. Gave you stats on your most listened song, gave you stats on the albums you liked, your friend's album, and it created a very unique, personalized page with beautiful design. And I think it got shared a ton.
Well, so you could just rag your friends for listening to Cardi B and things like that?
Well, I mean, look what my wife sent me this morning. Literally this morning, it was a rec list from Spotify, and it absolutely nailed it. New Kids on the Block, Hanging Tough is the first one. And it goes on from there, Blast from the Past. And so, Spotify is great at it. As you go back to really the core of why we're building Engine, it is around that personalization and that user-initiated flow ideas. So back in the day when we had 11 million email addresses at our last business, and you remember this, we went from batch and blast to sending 11 million of the same email to everybody to some are men, some are women, some are rich, some are poor, some like aggressive style, some like conservative style. Well, you matrix those out, that's like 8 different messages. That was like a kindergarten degree for where we got. What we ended up doing is building up, 200, 300 different cascades based on events that they did. So if they looked at product number 1, we knew certain things about them, especially when you overlay that with their personalization data. So that's really core to what we're doing here. It's so important that to get it right. Bad personalization is worse than no personalization. Sure. Spotify's nailing it. We nailed it in our last business, and we're trying to nail it again here with that.
Well, and then even on-site personalization too. Look at you've added a book to your cart, and then it will suggest, hey, here's the sequel, here's the 3rd book in the series, that sort of thing. I think on-site personalization is as big as email personalization.
Well, there's 8 or 9 ways to parse this. You could say customers who looked at this ended up buying this, which is very valuable. Yep. Customers who are similar products to this. Customers who bought this also bought this. Those are 3 very, very, very different things. And they seem to be interchangeable in a lot of the platforms out there and the way people are using them. When you're on the bottom of a product and it says people who bought this also bought this, well, they haven't bought it yet. That's a different mechanism. So there's 8 iterations of that, and that's really the core to me around personalization, and then event-driven, what they've just done and what you know about them, et cetera.
It's all good stuff to test in your store.
Because success lies in the fringes, and coming into it, people just get bombarded with messaging now, and so a way to pierce through that is good personalization. A way to fail is bad personalization.
Well, Trunk Club is really good at this. They did a quiz on me in the beginning, and the first trunk they sent me was awful. I mean, it was bad. So here's the feedback. It's bad because of this, this, and this. The next trunk was better, and now every time I don't even get trunks anymore, because when they send it to me, I buy something. So it's I don't want you to send me a box because it's going to be so good, and I'm going to want everything in it. So, all right, what's next?
Question 2 is on Facebook advertising. So does targeting remove everyone who does not have an interest from that list? So for an example, if I sponsored a post towards 13 interests, does each user have to have all 13 of those interests?
Yeah, so it depends on how you set it up. When you're in Facebook, when you're within the ad set, when you're picking your audiences, you can either include, narrow, or exclude. Those are the 3 options. If you put just a bunch of interest into a single thing without excluding or narrowing, you're not flexing that audience. So it's Facebook is taking a makeup of those 13 interests and trying to find someone who can lightly touch all of those. When you start narrowing audiences is when you get into they must like X and Y. So if I'm targeting people, e-commerce, for example, if I'm targeting people who are interested in e-commerce who use a Shopify platform, I'm going to flex the audience of people who are interested in e-commerce flex that with people who are also interested in Shopify, and I'm going to exclude Magento, this, that, and the other. That way I can kind of refine my audience. So when you're doing narrowing and excluding audiences is important. You don't want to load in 100 different interests, because Facebook's going to struggle to find that person who has a touch of all 100. So layer those in and flex the audience is the best way to go about it.
Yeah, those are recent. I mean, not recent, but I mean, used to you only had the or operator. So if you put 13 in, it was X or Y or Z or A, B or C, and that was it. And now the three ways you describe makes it infinitely more powerful, and that's why Facebook is killing it. When you look at their amount of ad revenue they have. Last one.
Our last question asks, what leadership lessons can aspiring entrepreneurs learn from Airbnb's founders? I think there's a lot.
Well, there's two that really spring to mind. The first thing is they did a lot of things that didn't scale in the very beginning. They were struggling to grow, and they flew out to a few of their more passionate rental people that had listed places on their platform. Flew in, took beautiful pictures of it, and and that's when it started to take off. So they figured out a process. They did it themselves. Yep. So it was a bunch of hard work. The other thing is the persistence that goes along with it. They struggled to raise venture capital, and one of the things they did to actually bootstrap the business was develop these Obama O's and something around Captain McCain's, and they sold these thousands of boxes of this cereal. And that was one of the things that impressed, I believe, Fred Wilson or Y Combinator, one of the two, one of the early investors. And so persistence and then doing things that don't scale. Founders are not too good to do things. You're not a rock star. They are now. But before you get to be that, there's a lot of hard work that goes into it. I don't think people understand that.
Yeah. I think that's all you can say on it.
Yeah,
there's a lot more, but hey.
Question of the day for you, talking about the last question in entrepreneurs that you find inspiration in. I'd love to hear the entrepreneur that you follow from a thought leadership perspective. Is it someone like Gary who a lot of people follow? What?
I said, oh, good Lord.
If it's Gary, John doesn't like you. No, I'm joking. Who is that entrepreneur that you follow for thought leadership, and who do you admire in the entrepreneurial space? Thank y'all for coming in. We'll see you tomorrow.